everyone. Thank you for joining the call. So, it is a good start for us because this is a very first podcast that TSA is organizing. So, thank you for being the start point in that. So it will be more of a conversation with Laksh, which everyone pretty much knows about. I am Priya, and I'll be the host for today's podcast. And as you know, the guest for today's speaker is Lakshman Ramakrishnan, and we call him Laksh. So why don't we start with you, Laksh? Tell a few words
Yeah,
about
sure.
that.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, TSA, for inviting me for such a podcast. Most of you guys already might know me very well, at least in the UCW circle. I'm just doing my introduction because I know that this is going to be on air in YouTube. People who are actually listening to this probably it might help them. So my name is Lakshman Ramakrishnan, as Priya said, and people call me Laksh. I have about 12 plus years of experience, primarily on IT industry. Um, Currently, I work as a project management consultant overseas for a company named Zeta, and that's the same company I was working back home in India. That's my professional side of things, and currently I'm pursuing my master's in business administration at UCW, and I'm currently in the fourth term. Yeah, the reason you might wonder, he's still a student, why, how you can advise other students about how you can strategize your MBA and make it successful completion. That's because I've been there, I've lived your life, so I know. So I thought maybe TSA would have thought I would be the right one to kind of suggest. So apart from that MBA program that I'm currently doing, I'm a very active um, community volunteer at UCW. I'm part of senior peer data program. I'm also a PAX member, and we also I mean I also contribute for TSA. So that's about me. And you guys have any specific questions? If Priya has any specific question to know about me, she can ask me. Yeah, that's pretty much about me.
And yeah, Laksh, pretty much everyone knows your stand in UCW, and I believe you would be one of the right candidate here to talk about the strategies that one can adopt to successfully do in MBA at UCW and how to make an impression. Because I've been with you in classes and I've spoken with you personally as well, and there are a lot of tips and tricks that you always tell students during the call and friends and peers. So why not we take a session on that? So that is how we came up with this, and pretty much even the slightest nuances that you can do on your side that can have a lasting impression in professor as well, which I also strongly believe in. So I think this would be a very good session for people, especially who are in their first term and second term, because the terms that we are having in UCW is pretty much short, I would say. And also we meet with professors around 11 classes, I believe, per term. So 11 is 11 in-person classes is what it is. And getting an impression on with the professor is something that we have to be very careful on, because there are a lot of programs that UCW offers. One such program is peer tutoring, wherein the mandate is that you have to get two recommendation letter from the professors, within this 11 weeks time. You have to make an impression with them so that they at least give you, right? It's not that you are going to be with the professor, traveling with the professor for like months, or 6 or 7 months, or so. That is how it has been in India and even in a few other colleges, but it's not the case here. So I feel that it is very important that one have to have an impression to even get all the things that we do apart from the academics as well, and it has a long way to it. And let's delve into the questions that we have. We have had a lot of responses from the current students, and we have curated 10 specific questions that we wanted to address, which pretty much covers all the questions that the students asked. So let's start with the first question. How do you introduce yourself in the very first class, so that it gives a lasting impression with the classmates as well as the professors.
Okay, so that's a good question, an interesting question, and thanks, Priya, for the the brief about why we need this session, right? Um, See, for me, the impression starts even before I step into the class, right? That's how I approach. Um, there are a lot of debates happens. How do you choose a professor? Is it could it be an easy professor, good graders, stuff like that? But I as a person, I always believe in myself than anybody else. So for me, handling any professor would be the same. It's not going to make a difference for me. When I choose a professor, there are certain criteria that I keep in mind. One is I look for a professor who is have a blend of academic and industry experience, because I've seen in the past, if I choose only academician or if I choose only industry experts, the way they teach with an example, it's kind of, there is a lag that I figure out. So I always do that first. And the second very important thing that I do is I'll try to get in a class which is maximum of 25 um, people. So I don't take a class which is a 40 or 45 people. There are classes which has 40 people. So I try to avoid those classes. So I have taken one class which is as low as 18 people in this 4 terms that I've studied. There's one paper I remember. So these are the strategies that I do while picking up the professor. So once the professor is finalized, the first thing that I do is I'll send a invite to my professor via LinkedIn. That's the first step that I do, and I'm connected with the professor. And since I own a premium account, I know that if professor just accepted or also he reviewed my profile. So it tells me who has reviewed my profile since I have a LinkedIn profile. So most of the time, it so happens that professors goes and kind of review my profile before they accept my connect. That's the very first thing that I do. And the second thing that what I do is I'll write an email, not just to the professor, to the entire classroom, whom I'm going to, my fellow learners, whom I'm going to study with. I kind of write a small brief about me, what I'm up to, and what I'm expecting out of the subject in class. When I write that email, I also ensure that the professor's experience and in terms of academics and industry also incorporated. It's not the formal email that I write just for sake of writing. I'll also ensure that that is added. So if a professor reads that email, he understands that I have read about him. I'm trying to understand about his experience and expertise, so that what I'm expecting out of his class, right? So I sent that email. The difference where it makes is when the very first class, when the professor, some professors ask you to intro, he might have not remembered me on the very first day, but the minute I start introducing about myself and then I mention my name, I can see a small smile on his face or some acknowledgement that I receive from the professor. Hey, I know this guy because he already connected with me, right? So if you ask me, that is something that I'm doing it. I don't know how many students today are doing it today, but I do that. And I don't stop there. I also ensure that when I'm completing the course, I send a thank note to all the professors. And I most likely, since last term, I've started gifting books also. Depends on what professor subject they're taking. I'll try to choose a book on their domain and try to give them book as well. So that's something that I'm doing it recently. I didn't do it for the first 2 terms, and the last 2 terms I'm doing it. So these are the small gratitude that I think that we should showcase on the classroom. The reason being is this country is all about that. If you have to survive in this country, especially in Canada, you need to greet people, welcome people, and you need to learn how to kind of thank people, and that's very important. And that's a small thing that I do, and that's what I think that I'm doing it different to create the first impression.
Good, good. That's so
Hope this
interesting,
answers.
Laksh. I didn't know you do so much of background work in, before getting into the class. But, probably, yeah, it is a very good thing. Like, Canada as well is, there are most of the professors are a people person. And yeah, I think it's a very good point that I think I will also follow probably. And yeah, and Lakshan, one more thing, this can be a continuation of what we have been talking about. Is there any specific flow that you try to maintain when you're introducing yourself to the class and the professor, or how what are the certain things that you emphasize on your introduction in the class, that could have a lasting impression in the class, with the class and the professors too,
Exactly.
because we get to have team members that we can work with, and there are classes wherein it is very new for us, and we don't know typically anyone there. So and how do you do that? And there can be instances where, based on your introduction, that even students there, they wanted to work with you, and they'll come and ask to be able to be a team together. So how do you think, how does that happen?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question, right? Again, so see, most of the cases, what happens is it's not who you choose the template that you wanted to introduce. It's mostly the professor who's giving the template. They might say like 4 or 5 points, and they say, everybody please introduce covering these points, right? Most of the times that happens, but there are times that that you will introduce by yourself, but that's very unlikely. If you want me to kind of give you a percentage, I would say 95% of the times it's professor who will tell you what has to be said on the call, or what information he is looking for from out of the students. The 5% is the free flowing style. So I'll stick to the 95%, and I'll tell you you can do a little different, right? Even if a professor gives you a template of, say, example, he wants to talk about your name, number of years of experience, why did you choose this MBA to do it at UCW? Say, what's your key strength and weakness? What do you think it's a weakness you want to improve on? Something like that, right? So what people do, I have seen mistake is a lot of people talk about out of the context, right? Somebody talks about my weaknesses. I believe somebody very easily. That your professor is very least bothered about, right? You believe somebody you don't believe easily is bothered. So whatever answer you're trying to give should be in line with your course, in line with your future aspiration. If somebody asks me what is your weakness, especially a professor asks me, I might as well answer, I'm a workaholic. At times I think that's something that I need to fix, right? I can, I'm saying my weakness, but I'm saying it in a positive tone. Sometimes I say my weakness could be, I don't know how to say no to people, right? That is, again, I'm saying my weakness, but I'm saying in a professional tone, right? If somebody says, apart from this, they're saying anything on the personal front, which is actually the professor is not interested. So the introduction that you're making, right, whatever points that professor trying to ask you, it's very important that you stick to a professional introduction. That's very important. Whatever you say, it should be aligned with your professional, right? Even if you ask your hobby, you can say a hobby that is like, I love reading management books if you're sitting in a leadership class, right? If you might read other books, right? You might read uh, a, a comic, a journal, right? But what professor expecting out of you is this guy have something which is something that I can use, or he can use, kind of a mutual win-win situation. The lot in few cases it so happened that when I introduced something, and he picked up that point and he talked about it. If he does that, then that's going to be the impression I've already made, right? So I would recommend, when you give an introduction, stick to what is your objective of this classroom. It could be MBA, or it could be something learning that you're going to do, and your future aspirations. So try to keep it professional. I think that itself will keep yourself stand out of the crowd, is what I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, got that, got that. Thank you, Laksh. And the next question is, how can student build a strong rapport with the professor from the beginning till the end, so that they can create a positive academic relationship, I would say.
Great. So that's again a great question, right? Like a lot of people heard about the students, talking about there's a participation score. My professors rated me very low, or somebody is happy about participation score is getting rated high, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
participation score that we talk about, the 10% score in all the pretty much all the classes, right? How do they gauge it, right? The professor has to gauge it, and there should be some ways and methods they gauge it, right? So every class that you attend is an opportunity for you to say, I've seen a lot of people opening their mouth only when the attendance is taken, and that's not how it works, right? Uh, I only hear them saying, "Yes, professor, I'm here." Right? Apart from that, I don't hear anything from them in the class, and that's not how it works. What professor expected out of you is when you are in a classroom and he's taking something, he wanted you to engage with him. That's why the participation score first comes in play. So you have to understand that. So the participation score is there for students to focus in the class. Right? So they expect you to participate. Right? How do you participate? Before you listen to him, right? So the first, very utmost thing that you have to do is you have to listen to the lecture. I know it's a very difficult thing to pull yourself for 2 hours, listening to a lecture. It's very hard, but at least whatever you can do justification, like say you're listening out of this 2 hours for 1 hour or 45 minutes, make sure you listen and use that opportunity and try to complement what he's teaching. What I've seen in my experience in UCW career, I always ask questions which complements what professor teaching rather questioning what he's teaching. Right? I'm not saying you should not ask question if you don't understand something. You can definitely ask, but at UCW or the professors at UCW or any university for that matter, the expectation is to read the chapter before come to the class so that it's easy for you to connect with the class, right? People who don't read the chapter and come to the class, they will find it difficult. And the question you have to ask, which you should be complementing, even if you don't understand a concept, there is a way to ask it, right? For example, the professor talking about an agile concept, right? What is the difference between agile and waterfall? And you have no clue what is agile, what is waterfall. You can ask a question, right? Um, Professor, can you please elaborate the agile and waterfall with an industry experience so that I can relate? That's a way to ask, right? If you say that, you're complementing the question with the professors is explaining. So now, not just you going to get benefited, your entire class is going to get benefited because there are people who has a hesitation. I told you that people raise hands only when the attendance taken. So for them also, it's going to benefit. So professors will kind of get interested to answer such questions. That's one thing that you have to do. And I will make sure in every class at least two questions minimum that I ask more also if the topic is very interesting, but minimum two is a mandate that I'll ask. I also count myself today how many questions I asked. So I make sure that my participation is registered. The other thing that I do is I always after the class, right? There are 30 people asking questions. How do professor register? It's Laksh also who will ask the question, right? So if there are too many people are asking question on the same time on the same class, then I will ensure that after the class, I go to the professor, I elaborate what he explained me. Hey, you explained me this, and but this is how it works, right, professor? So what I'm doing right now 10 people ask a question. How do I stand out of this 10? Because it's going to be a bell curve. I'll go to the professor and I talk to him about the same topic, right, and elaborate. So registering him again, saying that what, I asked a question and explained me, and I participated in your class. So these are small tricks. Not everybody try to attempt to do it. That is where it difference, from you, from the crowd, is what my opinion is, and this is what I do basically.
Yeah, that's good. And also, that is also a point, Laksh, because we are doing a master's degree MBA. It is not something that professors are not coming there to teach you, they're coming there to lecture you. That people have to understand that,
Yes.
most of the time we don't even run through the chapters that are stipulated to happen in the upcoming session. And most of them would ask you to, have a go through on the topic. So when they lecture during the classes, it would be easy for for us to have a connect with the subject that is happening there. But like you said, if we're not doing that, we'll be clueless in the class. So I've seen that happen with everyone. Most of them would have been happen, and there are many practical classes that are there for it. You have to do, and you have to have a run through of the chapters before class, so at least you understand 70 to 80%, if not 100%, right? So yeah, thank you for bringing that topic up. So yeah, let's go to the next question, Lak. So since we have spoken about the impression and all these things, there are most of us do work part time as well, right? And there are work commitments that come into the picture, and it's not the studies that we have to concentrate on, it's also the work commitment. How do you think one can maintain the consistency in studies as well as, in work, and trying to balance between the both?
All right. This is something an essential question, I would say, because
Yeah.
everybody is, kind of in that spot. Um, Again, so there are a couple of things, right? So the first thing is people have to understand their priority, right? I've seen people telling me, I have too much of work, hence I'm not able to focus. If you are saying that, then you have a problem with your prioritization, right? When you decided to do an MBA, and the MBA is the topmost priority, right? And then comes everything, right? So I would suggest who are doing juggling between multiple things, hats off to them. It's not easy, all right? But you guys have to learn what is the priority for you. So once you know your priority very clearly, right, everybody has 24 hours. So you guys have to kind of allocate time for each of your priority. Um, Again, this depends on people to people. I cannot give you an equation saying you guys have to dedicate 4 hours every day to study. That's again depends on a lot of other factors. Your intelligence level, your grasping capacity, how well you're doing your prep work. A lot of factors goes in. So that is something you can decide. But what I can tell you is you have to slot. I call that as a container in my calendar. I don't know how many of you, some people got a chance to look at my calendar. My calendar is crazy. But there's something called containers that you can create for a particular, you can break down this 24 hours into multiple containers, and you can do things on that container. So the container is basically your blocking time for doing something. So example, if you are a person who go to work every day, say from evening 4 o'clock to 12 o'clock at night, then you block that as a container, your work. So you know that they're going to work. And after that, you're not going to allocate anything there. Likewise, you can create containers for your classrooms, your study time, all that, so that you have at least where is your time is placed. Now, once you know that, and then you will be able to create, okay, in that container, what I should do, right? That's what I literally do, right? So first, the prioritization. Second is your time management. That's very important. The second very important thing is the time management. So you to know how to manage your time. And the third comes as being self motivated. That's very important. If you're expecting somebody to tap on your shoulder, I'm sure in India, I still remember when I used to study late nights, my mom used to make coffee and give it to me. And so that's India, right? Here, you have to be a self-motivated guy. Very rarely people have a time to come and tell you, you know what, you're doing a good job, and keep doing it. So the for you to being a very consistent, it's very important. You have to be self-motivated. You can be low, feeling low someday, some week. That's fine. Not more than week. You have to pull yourself and keep running because you have decided and you have chose to do this, right? So, in my opinion, first the prioritization, prioritize what is important for you while you're doing your MBA. The second comes your time management and create containers of your 24 hours and try to allocate time for each prioritization that you're doing. And the third thing is your self motivation that you have to do it. Some people are not very good at self motivating it. If that's the case, find a partner who can motivate you. I do that. Even I'm very self motivated person, but in this call, Anita is here. I think Anita and Nitish, I'm not sure Nitish is there on the call. They are my study partner for this term. So I always keep a study partners so that they motivate each other and kind of keep you focused. Right? These are small things that you can do. And the last thing that people do, a lot of mistakes, right? I would say is they do all this, but they'll not be able to execute. The reason they are not able to execute is because they do prioritization, they do time management, they are trying to find a study partner, but the consistent, here comes the consistent, right? They'll not be able to be consistent because they're failing. The reason they're failing is because of the time wasters, right? You have to understand what is killing your time or what is deviating you from your focus, and you try to cut it down, you know that's you have to do it. That's nobody can help you there. Say example, I've seen people spending social media 2 hours, 3 hours. They have some addiction, but that's something that you have to take control over. If you do that, I think if you follow these three, what I told you, I'm sure you should be able to be consistent and be successful. And
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
I'm
that
doing, and it's working for me.
I guess it will work for everyone too. So it is pretty common that, people who want to, try to have a balance, they can add this. And I would want to add one point to this, that, sometimes what people do is, when you're doing part time, they take the part time work so seriously and so personally that
Yeah, yeah,
whatever happens in the workspace, they try to ponder it over for weeks and days, and which is not supposed to be the case, because it is just a part time and the prioritization should be towards the studies. And if something happens to the studies, you have to, that should be a pondering case for you for weeks, not something that has happened
actually.
in your workspace, right? So that is also something that I wanted to add on to this, Lux. So I know, like, it is very overwhelming here. We have come from a different place and we are trying to, trying to make our bread and butter here. But this is something that I've seen a lot of people doing, that they take work life very personally. So that shouldn't be the case. That something that I wanted to add to this, Laksh. And
I just wanted to add, since you mentioned work-life balance, I don't believe in work-life balance. If somebody's saying I have work-life balance, I don't know. In my personal opinion, I don't believe it because I believe in harmony. There's a difference between work-life harmony and work-life balance. When you balance, you're committing yourself uh, in a boundary. You want to do something, and out of the boundary, you don't want to do something. But I believe in harmony. I use every opportunity. Just to give you an example, when I'm commute, I listen to a podcast, I listen to a subject. When I'm cooking, I listen to my lectures, right? So I live in harmony, right? So because I know my priority, right? I don't need a system, a calm place to listen to my lecture. I might as well do cooking and I might be listening to my lecture. So I would say people from work-life balance, you have to shift towards work-life harmony, and that works very well, especially if you're a multitasker, if you're doing multiple things at the same time. I'm sure it's going to help.
yeah, thank you, Laksh. And the next question is, we have a teeny tiny break in between the terms. So, how can one
Okay.
strategically optimize that break, probably be it 8 days or 10 days, the stipulated timeline? And how do you think that students can effectively use it and make themselves ready for the job market?
So if you personally ask me, if you're talking about a term break, the
Mm-hmm.
break that you get between the terms, I
Yes,
would say
yes,
don't
yes.
do anything on that term. It's a time for you to kind of re-energize yourself, trying to, um, boost yourself for the next upcoming term. Given a chance, don't work, don't do anything, party hard, if as if there is no tomorrow. If you're a party person, or if you're a travel person, pick up a friend, go for a travel. Um, if you're a nature person, probably you do a solo travel to a nature walk and then do whatnot. Um, this is for the short term break, I would say, because you have to take a break for yourself. That's what the term break is given, from your studies, from your work. But not everybody is blessed to do that. Some people will still have work. At least you're taking a break from your studies, if not from the work. Try to use that time, try to do something which is going to re-energize you. It makes you feel better. It could be pick up a habit, do a yoga, or do anything that you want to do. Is what I would suggest. Don't think about career. Don't think about your studies, at least on your term break. But once the term starts, you will only think about your studies and your career. And that is what I do, and I would recommend you guys also to do that.
The break has to be a literal break
It
from
has to be a
everything.
break. It has to be a break.
Yeah, makes sense though. Yeah, yeah, Alex. And let's get into the next question. I'm not sure if everyone knows about it. There is something called bell curve, that the grading system works around that bell curve. So no matter in your class, if you study, most of them, all the gradings will fall in the bell curve. So the median would be the maximum grading that one can get in a class. So this is the strategy that professors follow while grading students in their class. So everything will fall in the bell curve. So I just wanted Laksh for you to touch on this topic, and what are all the strategies that one can put in the class so that they fall under the maximum area of the bell curve.
Yeah. So a bell curve is an interesting factor, not just in your university. It's also going to be in your workplace when you go to work. Um, Not everybody will be able to get an outstanding performer award every appraisal cycle, and that's going to be a bell curve because of that. So first, you guys have to understand what is bell curve. So bell curve is basically when you have say 100 people, all 100 people cannot be placed at the top, right? There should be a differentiator. So that's where there is a slab created. There's metrics created for you to grade you and stuff like that. So they will allocate a percentage. So not just in university, I'm saying, guys, even in your workplace, they say that 5% of people qualify for, say, the top of the bell, right? Which is the say A plus. So out of 100 people, now you can tell me that only five people are going to be A plus. Now it's professors who has to decide who are that five is going to be in that spot, right? And that's what everybody is trying to make impression. Now, whatever we discussed so far, trying to create the bonding before you even step into the class, being active in the class, asking questions, all that. But that's one part of it, right? That is like you're giving an impression about you. Hey, I'm a studious student. I'm here to study, and I'm here to gain knowledge, right? But that doesn't stop there. And when you, yes, that's how it starts with the individual assignments in most of the case, or in most of the case, it starts with weekly discussion forum, which individually who has to create. Now that is your golden ticket. A lot of people don't use it right. They think, oh, it's 1%, so I no need to focus. It's weekly discussion, right? No. Now you made an impression about your studious, you want to be active in the class and you want to contribute to the class. You have made that impression. Now, okay, what are you contributing to the class? Is something is your weekly discussion or your first individual assignment is going to prove, right? That's your golden ticket. And people say, right, the first impression is the everlasting impression. So you have to make the impression. There are days that I've missed that impression because I miscalculated, I misjudged it. But one thing I learned is you have to meet professor's expectation. That's very important, and not just stop there, right? That is the very bare minimum expectation from the professor. For you to meet the expectation, you have to. A lot of people read the assignment. I read the rubrics and grading before go to the assignment. So you have to read that what is expected out of you for that assignment, and then go to the assignment and outline the assignment. Once you outline the assignment, I usually go to the professor and ask during the class. Say if I have a 2 weeks submission, I start early and I make some outline and go to the class and I ask him in the individual assignment one on one. I made this. Mostly I take it offline because I don't want to make it obvious to the classroom that I'm trying to kind of course correct or trying to take his feedback before I finalize my assignment. I go to office hours. Trust me, 95% of people at UCW never use office hours. But I use office hours at least for this. When the individual assignment is given, I go meet him, take some feedback. Hey, this is what I'm doing. Professor, I will not ask him, is that right or wrong? That's a bad question to ask. Please remember this. I'm repeating myself. That's a very bad question to ask because professors follows ethics and moral. They don't like to give you, a special hand than the rest of the class that they're not going to do, but you have some outline in place and you are going to talk about this is what you're structuring. I want to hear it from you. Am I going in the right direction? Is there something that I need to work on, right? There's a way to ask it, right? So you will get the answer eventually what you wanted. So that's one trick that I do. And whatever the assignment score, it's been published. I might score good, I might score a little low. A lot of people just leave it. They might be happy or they might be sad. They just leave it with that emotion. But I go to the professor. I talked about, say, if some professor given me 85, I will try to understand what he has given 85 and what is the good thing that I've done, what I can carry forward. If I've not scored good, then I'll try to understand what is that I have to improve so that again. So now, even though I'm not part of that 5% club, today on the first assignment, but eventually I graduate myself to be the, the 5% club, which is the A plus, right? So that's how it starts. A lot of times, trust me, I start with B plus on the first assignment or A, but a lot of classes I ended up with A plus, uh, because of these strategies that we use. So it's not just, impressing the professor just by asking questions and introducing. It's also about the first assignment that you're going to work, the weekly discussion forums. That's going to be the key or a golden ticket for you to prove, yes, the impression that you created is right because he is studious. He can do, right? That you have to use, right? Yeah, hope
Okay.
this helps. Yeah.
Yeah, that is also an
I know
interesting
this is a lot
one,
of work.
Laksh.
This is a lot of work, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but trust me, it worth it.
But yeah, like you said, like most of the time, what students do is they don't ask for feedbacks for their assignments. If they make it as 72 or 76, they straightly go that he's not a fair. If they'll try to grade the professor itself, he's not a fair graded. He's like this, he's like that. Though they don't go dwell into on why he gave it. But most of the time in the section itself, there are professors whom I had give feedbacks specifically on all the topic we have addressed on and what we have missed on. But there are professors who don't do it. But it is not that they are not going to tell it. If you are genuinely wanted to improve yourself, if you go and ask professor, like you said, in office hours, they are going to deliberately see your assignment and tell what is that went wrong and what has not went right in it and how we are supposed to do. And even I have done this couple of times with my professors too. Abruptly they didn't have the feedback, but I wanted to know because he did grade me low. But during the office hours, when I went, then ideally I knew that what was his expectation was, so it made me do the next assignment consecutively better, so I did get a better grade. So probably students
That's
who
right.
are here could use this strategy to do it. So and as you said, most of the students, 90% of the students don't use office hours, don't go for office hours. They won't even know when they will go for at the end of the term, when they think that when they post for the final grades, when they think they didn't pass, they wanted to go for the officer. So that shouldn't be the case. And thank you for
Um,
bringing this up,
People,
Laksh.
yeah, people who cannot make it to office hours for so many reasons, right? Could be a work commitment. If that is the genuine reason you're not able to make it to office hours, I would say use the first 5-10 minutes before start of the class or at the end of the class and meet the professor one on one. That's even more better. You can do both, right? That's
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
right there and you can talk to him. I'm sure professors will never say no to that.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. That's something that good that we touched upon the topic, Laksh. And next is there are a lot of extracurricular activities in UCW that it offers. Probably the student club or a lot of volunteering opportunities, a lot of career development and related activities. There are other extracurricular activities like games and sports that UCW keeps organizing. How do you think one can prioritize their coursework and extracurricular activity to have to maximize the success in the UCW MBA program itself?
Yeah. So this again, very important question. A lot of people I've seen right after the college, they push off and they think, okay, I'm done with the class, I'm going out of the university, right? And that's how most of the people think. And very few I've seen spend time in university, sitting there, just being in library, meeting people and talking to them and stuff. Um, Country like Canada, not just Canada, in North America, the culture is you have to make networking because here networking plays a very key role in your job, in your promotions, in your future growth. So it has to start from university. So you cannot say like, you know what, I'm going to complete my MBA, and after that I'll figure out my networking. That's not going to happen because college is your practice ground for everything to gain knowledge, to make mistakes. You learn from your mistakes. So if you want to develop your networking skill, I think you should start from your university. That's what I look at. And even if you have a experience in the past, like 5, 10 years experience back home, but in North America, things is a little different here. I don't know how many of you know this. Um, if you work in an office, the Canadians don't even share your phone number. Even university, you have seen, right? Like how many of you have your professor's numbers, right? You don't have, right? That's because it's not that easy. Even if he is a professor who's not born raised in Canadian, they still don't prefer not sharing because that is not a professional way of interacting with people. So they always refer you to an email or a Teams, right? So networking scope is very limited here. So university spending time in university is a golden opportunity for you to network with people, your professors, and the other departments. Now I'm being a part of senior peer leader. I'm being a part of PAX member, and I'm doing club activities as well. So how it helped me is to help me network. Right? That's something a lot that I learned in during this time, spending time with the different initiatives. um, Not everybody will have the privilege to do this because of their time crunch, their work schedule. That I totally get it. But whatever you can do, I would recommend please do it because this is an opportunity for you to hone your skills on kind of networking and how things works in North America. It's very important. um, because when you go to work, that's what you're going to do day in and out, and you have to practice somewhere. I would say in university you have to practice, and there is a lot of good initiative UCW per se are doing it in terms of student clubs, in terms of brand ambassadors. There are a lot of student roles which UCW offer to students so that they can join, work with the university, and learn apart from their studies, apart from their work. They can have something to work on. You might ask me, how do you handle your burnout, right? Like you're doing so many things, you might burn out easily. That's quite naturally, right? But what I do is I take this volunteering opportunity as my passion. Like you have to train your brain. You should not do it for sake of doing it. So if you're doing something with the passion and love, you never get burnout. That's something that I learned in my life. So I'll train my brain. If I have to be a pack, I love being a pack. I love wearing that purple t-shirt. If I'm wearing that, I'm like a CSK in field, right? If you are going to watch a CSK match, have you ever been stressed out? Oh, I'm gonna be watching a match. No, you'll be excited because the your brain is tuned to love CSK, to love the match that you're gonna watch, right? So if you can cultivate that, apart from academics and work, that can be tiring and stressful at times. But at least this community, engagement that you're doing, you should start loving. A lot of people here who does a lot of things for TSA. I'm happy for them. Uh, you should do that. That's the way of handling it.
And yeah, even I've heard a lot of stories like it does it does start with volunteering, I would say, because I know a lot of people who has done volunteering, got friends, and they've had a good circle because of that.
Exactly.
And also they've helped them get jobs. They have helped them in getting reference, and they've helped them connect with the like-minded people. So it starts with there as well, I believe so. So I encourage pretty everyone who's listening to this podcast to explore the volunteering opportunities, and it is a very good thing in Canada and North America culture itself, because uh, they see volunteering as a very good weightage to your profile as well, because they welcome people who have volunteered. It gives a good strength to your profile, I would say. So yeah. And um and the next question is, Laksh, there are a lot of resources that UCW has that most of us don't know. These resources can help the students both in academic way as well as in achieving a professional goal as well. So, how do you think students can take the most out of it and use it for the betterment of themselves?
I will tell you a simple shortcut way to do it. Join peer leader program. You know what peer leader program does? Yeah.
Mm.
So I know Priya is a peer leader too, and a lot of people
Yeah.
here, Nandini and Yamini, are peer leaders too. You know what it does? It gives you 25 people under you whenever you qualified as a peer leader, and you have to guide them. So for you to guide them, they'll ask you with a lot of questions about what is this, what is that. You'll end up learning, okay, about what university offers today. Okay, jokes apart, at least you being an MBA, joining peer leader is not a joke, guys. That is a serious thing if you really want to consider, because again, that's going to be an additional responsibility, not just for you. There are 25 people are going to be tagged to you. So you have to be super, super responsible if you want to take up that. But I'm very proud of kids here like Yamini, Nandini who are doing it. And I am Priya, pretty much a senior peer leader here. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is when you do something, I learned this in my life. If you want to learn something, you have to dirty your hands. My mentor says this always, right? If something that somebody is asking you, do you know this? I want you to do this. I will forget about do I know it or not, but I will say yes. First, I'll say yes. Then I'll figure out how to do it, right? So that's the best way of learning, right? If you want to learn something, dirty your hands. So what I do it basically is in TSA also. A lot of people here, I'm sure they used to call me for questions and query. I don't never stop anybody because I look at that as a learning opportunity. Because if I'm trying to answer somebody here out there who's asking help, I'm trying to explore and trying to learn out of it. So that excites me. So I try to kind of help, and that's how I'm being head of, right? But having said that, there are certain crucial departments that you have to know what UCW has today, and they're really doing a good job. The one is the academic advising, the other one is the CDC. These two are very important. For you to successfully complete your course, you need academics advising for all your academic related questions. For you to plan your career, you need CDC department. So I'm okay if you don't meet your finance, if you don't meet your, even if you don't meet your librarian, I would say go meet your librarian. Even they have a very good resources on how to write your assignments and stuff, especially the beginners like Jerome and people here. Definitely meet them. What people do wrong is like I've seen a lot of people saying, when did you meet your last academic advisor? They don't meet, they would have met in the very first time because somebody told them, their peer leader would have told them, hey, there's an academic advisor, you can go and meet. But I make it a habit. I meet academic advising every term. I meet CDC team every term. You know what? I go and tell them, I don't have any questions. I'll just tell them that this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm planning to do in the next term. What do you think? Should I course correct? Am I doing right? That's all I go on to talk. So I have something that I want to talk to them, and I want to know that this department exists. I want to make use of it. And you know what? You're already paying for the services. So UCW already giving you the services because you're paying your tuition fees, which is covered with all the services. So make use of it. I would say CDC and academic advising is something every term you have to go and talk to them. They kind of help you, suggest you what you should do. And there are other resources like library, learning commons, all their academic hubs. That also something that you can do.
And I would want to add there's something called peer tutoring as well, wherein it
Yeah.
is a free service that UCW offers. You can book a session, an appointment with a peer tutor for a specific subject which you feel you got stuck or something, or you wanted need a heads up or help in that. You can book an appointment with tutor as well, and there are a lot of tutors available for every subject for you to connect with them. So I don't know if anyone of you had a discussion with tutor before, because I have had, but it was pretty much good. They would try to help you out well because they have been a student of UCW, so they know what is to be expected and how to, how things work and how one can, excel in academics, and they are there to help us out. So I would recommend you guys to at least use tutoring service as well, if at all you need any help with academics. And as the Laksh said, there are other resources too which you have to be aware of and make use of it. Make use of it is what I would say. And let's go to the next question. It is pretty much a follow-up question, I would say. So, how important is networking within the UCW community, and what are the steps that students can take to build a meaningful connections with peer or alumni or industry professionals, I would ask.
Okay. So, a lot of terms I hear this coffee chat, right? I don't know if you guys are part of UCW Networking Club. I'm part of a member. By the way, I'm a member in all the clubs that university has. So if you're a member of the university, networking club, you can often hear this word, coffee chat, coffee chat. But I don't believe in those, right? I mean, again, people to people might debate. What worked for me is the professor whom I am talking, because I'm making the right choice of industry plus an academician. So I'm talking to somebody who's already in industry. So he's the guy who's watching me for 3 months who can vouch for you. So nobody is going to vouch for you for a job if they don't know you. If you are in that impression, you're wrong, because it's not you who's going to take the credibility. It's the person who's already working in that company. His credibility is at stake, so he has to refer the right candidate. um, I mean, that's how everybody thinks. Even I think like that. A lot of people in TSA ask me job, and I usually don't help them until they have tried. I can be very honest. I I don't help them until unless they tried their fullest, and then they come to me. So if something goes easy to people, they don't know the value of it. That I strongly believe it, right? So if they really run out of the battery and say, you know what, I don't have money to eat food tomorrow, the one within 2 days I can get a job for them. I have the network to do that. But I don't do it until unless people really have tried their best, right? That's how I am. Likewise, everybody thinks, even anybody who randomly meets somebody on LinkedIn, they might think that way. How I do my networking is I use my professor because I'm spending 3 months with him. If he's not going to vouch for me, who else is going to vouch for me, right? So he knows me. I'm punctual to the class. That shows my time management. I'm submitting my assignments on time. So that shows my time management. I'm very active in the class. I'm taking accountability. I'm taking responsibility of managing my group and submitting the group project. Usually, I lead the group, and most of the times these days I'm giving to people whom I can rely on. Who can lead the project because my group score is also there, right? So I'm very particular about leading the group. So I do all the strategies to network with the professor. So I would give you tips of networking with your professor first. That's the very key at most important. For that, you have to choose the right professor. When it's you right professor, it's not an easy grader or easy on you, is who has the academic and industry experience. Um, I don't want to brag about me, but just there are two professors who tried job for me in their company. It did not work out because I'm in a study permit, and we ended up knowing they are not hiring somebody who's on study permit. They want a work permit, but they have kept my profile on a backlog. Um, so there's one professor who runs a company, which his name is ICF. I don't want to name any professor's name here, just for their identity not to be revealed. Um, I'm volunteering for them. So there is some ways that you can network with your professor, and they are the best bet for you. Because you're new to the country, some random guy in LinkedIn, the probability it might click, you might get lucky, but the probability is way lesser compared to somebody who's watching you for 3 months and who has an industry experience, who has an industry connection. If not, he can get you a job. At least he can refer to his network. There's one Caribbean folk I know from marketing class. The professor got him as a lecturer in a college, because he already had a master's in supply chain management. So he joined a college. The professor helped him to get a job because this guy has an interest in teaching. Now he's working as a professor and studying in UCW. You can imagine the power of the professor who's right in the class. So make use of him is what I would say. That's the first networking that you have to do, because that is an extended networking, in my opinion, right? And then comes your social networking platforms like TSA. You have a lot of people to network with, and you can participate in university related roles. All that will help. But keep this in mind. A very simple rule is, if somebody has to vouch for you, they should know you, right? That you have to make the connection. So how you're going to make the connection? Everybody has their own style of doing it. I'm not going to give you this is how you should make connection. You might be an introvert, still you may make a connection. I'm extrovert, I can make connections easily. So it depends, right? You can go with a coffee with them, you can take them for a movie or take them for a date night. That's up to you, but you make connections, right? That's I'm leaving to you. But yeah, this is how I would say you should strategize. Your close network, whom you know, whom you work, is the one that you have to network first, and that they will, kind of take you to the extended network, and that's how it works. You don't believe? I go to a saloon, okay? That saloon person is looking for a job for me. She offered me, okay, I will find you, help you find. Even though I did not ask her that I need a job, today she called me. There is a person, I don't know, I might want to ask this job in TSA if anybody wanted. There's an opening in Amazon, which is a delivery driver. Yeah, there's some driving license, criteria. She asked me, she's a hairstylist whom I go to a salon. See the power of networking, right? I never asked her a job. It's just that I tell her what I do and what I aspire to do and stuff. And I was talking about it's very expensive. I am thinking of doing one more job just to compensate some expenses, something like that. I was telling her. She kept that in mind, and she literally referring me to a job which can, that's the power of networking, right? So every person you meet, it could be a hairstylist, it could be a professor, it could be a guy, a senior, network with them, and that's gonna help you.
Yeah, and you don't know where the opportunities are gonna knock you from, right?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Since you said that,
exactly.
I want to mention about. I can mention his name. Uh, One of the senior in TSA, and he's a UCWN. Um, he used to work in Costco, right? There's a Tamil guy who came. He doesn't know who he is. He just helped him. He needed some help, so he just did his job, helping that guy to do some purchase. He never asked for a job, and he just said, I'm a Tamilian too, you're a Tamilian. Okay, give me your phone number." The exchange of phone happened, and after a long time he again revisited, and he met him again, and he greeted him, and he kind of did the customer service. And then the second time he proactively said, "Okay, what is your background and stuff, all that." And he gave all that, and he said, "You know what, I'm a guy who works in a company. I'm in the same profile that you are looking for." At that time, the senior was studying. "So after your college, you just call me, give me a call." And he did. He's working in a six-figure sum in a software company as a sales account manager. The life changed, right? He never would have expected when he helped him on a
Exactly.
call and then, with the product, right? So why I'm telling you this, everything is an opportunity. Go with the open heart and try to help people, try to be warm with people. You never know who's gonna help you.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I think we have come to the end of the session, Lakshman. Thank you so much for patiently answering all the questions that we had. And I think pretty much we covered on all the aspects today. If at all in the audience, if you guys have any other topics or question that you have which has not been addressed already with Lakshman, you can, raise your hand and ask the questions.
Okay, before we go to Q&A session, I'm not sure if everybody has a question. It's
Mm.
thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you so much for all the audience who are listening to me. I don't know if few of them would have heard all this bits and piece and parcel, because whenever they call me, I kind of give them my peace of mind. But trust me, guys, this country works a little slightly different from what we where we belong.